All right, we are streaming on YouTube now. Go ahead, Mr. Shasky, and you can call the meeting to order.
Okay, we're going to reconvene into open session here at, my clock says 6 o'clock exactly. Let's go ahead and we'll do roll call. Obviously, I'm here. It's like Mr. Valadeo is absent. Mr. Chavez is absent. Mrs. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Torres?
Here.
Okay. Let's, nothing really to report in action taken in that closed session, correct?
Correct.
So we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know if we have a flag anywhere, or you can turn your screen to it, or
Hold on. Let's.
we just want to sing together.
I'm sharing my screen. There we go. There, pick your flag.
There you go. Perfect.
Ready?
Allegiance.
Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Stu was struggling with that when I saw the microphone light flashing all over the place. Okay, so item number 7, let's go. We'll have approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion for that?
So moved.
Mr. Torres.
I'll second.
Mrs. Smith.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. I'll move to item number 8, communications.
No communications to speak of this month.
Okay. Item number 9, board reports. Anybody have any feedback or anything? I got nothing.
Not at this time, no.
Okay. Anything we're forgetting about should be reporting on, Scott?
No, this is always just an opportunity for you to brag publicly about how amazing our district is.
Great. No, I know every time I get a chance talking to my Chowchilla friends, I rub it in. Anyway, okay, item number 10, presentation and reports.
All right, I have a lot to cover tonight, but what I'm going to do is, if it's okay with you, I'm going to go ahead and defer to our awesome teachers, Mrs. Gonzalez and Mrs. Guerrero, and to give an educational program update.
Thank you. We have each teacher filled out information on what's going on in their classroom. We had expected to print it and hand it to you guys, but we have it on docs, and we could email it and tell you a little bit about what's going on in our own classrooms, if that's okay.
Sounds good.
So we have, I'm 3rd and 4th DL, and Anna is 4th. So in DL, we just took on the 3rd graders who went down, their cohort went down. And so they're actually pretty excited this week because we're all back together. The in-person learning students and my DLs are in one group, and they're in rotation, and they're in good spirits, and they didn't have any, nobody was worried or fearful, if that makes sense. I was a little worried that some of them were going to be upset or worried about having to leave their classroom, but everybody was in a good mood, and the response from the from the parents was positive. And as far as my 4th graders, we're pushing along, and we're working on long division, so that's fun, and fractions in 3rd grade. So that's what's going on in our world. We'll get the document and share it with you guys so that you can see what's going on every grade level. But Anna, you want to shine report?
Of course, yeah. So I teach 4th grade in person, and we are digging deep into writing. We started with a small paragraph that was more put together. The details supported their main idea. We are now moving on to multi-paragraph with a few of our students because some of them are already there, and they are really getting good at coming up with their plan, the TAK plan that we've been working on for a while. We're still going with the solids. A lot of students are crushing it, just getting on there and hitting their goals. And I actually have about 3 students who are 80% done with one of the ST strands, and that consists of 144 puzzles. And one fourth grader actually already completed it and they're moving on to the next one. So they're really grasping it. I'm learning it also, and I'm trying to find a way to get them to do it at home more than they're doing it. So I'm working on getting them pumped up with shields or some type of reward, just like I do with the Spellis, because that seems to be very successful. So that's what's going on in fourth grade, room 15.
Yeah, the ST math has been exciting for my DL students as well.
Mhm.
That's been something new and is always positive. It's always fun for them.
And they love to see Gigi. They're like, look, Gigi's almost on land. There's only this much left. So they're really excited about that.
Good, that's great to hear. All right, any questions for our teachers from the board members?
No, it sounds great. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
You
Thank
guys
you.
are struggling with the conditions we're in, so you guys are doing great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, you ladies are welcome to stick around for the remainder of the meeting, but don't feel like you're obligated to. I know you have lives outside of LeGrand Elementary as well, so thank you for being here. All right, so we're going to continue on with presentations and reports, and that was a great report on some instruction happening on campus. I can attest to what's happening in all the other classrooms as well. Been walking rooms and checking in on kids too, and kids are excited to be here when they're here. We're of course disappointed right now that we had to pivot back to distance learning for a very short time, but we'll be excited to bring them back in person again because the kids are thriving. One of the things we're going to be talking about is learning loss, and this is a term that's being used frequently with COVID-19. And so what I've done is taken our winter map testing, which is our benchmark assessments we give in the fall, winter, and spring, and I've gone through the data and compared it to last winter, where we could see, okay, what's nice about NWEA, our benchmarks, is it's norm reference. So it's actually comparing our students to millions of students around the country at their grade level, because there's millions of kids in the country using this exact assessment. So they're able to do that. So when we talk about percentile ranking, which is norm reference ranking, we can actually say, okay, if a student's performing in the 70th percentile, that means they're performing better than 70% of millions of kids in the country. And so that's how we have conversations around the data here at LeGrand. So one of the things that we're going to be talking about, that's a new term that's popped up under COVID-19, is learning loss. And that means we're trying to capture in education how much learning has been lost because of non-traditional methods of delivering instruction, either school closure, distance learning, or the hybrid model, or everything else that's happening right now. Are students losing learning because it's not traditional? And so what this report is designed to do is to capture that and share that with you. Some key terms before we get into the data is significant loss means a decrease of 15 percentile points or greater. Some are moderate is 3 to 14. Little to no is a plus or minus 2 percentile. Some to moderate gain is 3 to 14%. And significant gain is 15 percentile points or greater. And believe it or not, we have a large number of students who have made significant gains during the pandemic. They've actually, what this is comparing them to is what the program thinks they would have gained under normal circumstances, okay? So if you have a student that falls into this significant gain category, that means they've actually done better under the conditions right now. And that could be the small groups. That could be distance learning for some of our kids, because we know actually distance learning is working for some of our students who maybe felt social pressures of being at school or other things, or less distracted or something like that. So here you can see a glimpse of, this is taking 2nd through 8th grade school-wide. 19% of our students in 2nd through 8th grade experience significant learning loss. 15% some to moderate, 24% little to no, and you can read it. We have 11% of our students who we don't have data on. Those are either students who are new to our school this year or didn't have data from last winter to compare it to. Now, looking at this, right off the bat, you're looking at that red bar going, wow, that's a lot of kids. What I like to do is I like to look at the yellow, blue, and green. And those are, the yellow are the kids who did exactly what, according to NWA, they would have done had they been in school. okay, over the period of the pandemic. The blue column is kids who've made some pretty good gains. And then the green column are kids who've really just shined through this pandemic, academically speaking. So when you combine those three columns, you're looking at 55% of our students either doing exactly what they would have done under normal circumstances or making gains, compared to 34% of our students who have not made the gains that we anticipated they would have. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So then I was, of course, curious. Anytime I do data dives, I start going down rabbit holes. So I spent a good 3 days in my office just kind of going, oh, I wonder what this will do and this will do. And I wanted to know how our in-person learners were doing versus our distance learners. So you can see our yellow column is our distance learning students. And one would assume, and this isn't a knock on what our teachers, we know our distance learning teachers are truly crushing it. I love that term because they are. But this is just, we have a lot of our kids who are in distance learning who might not log in all the time and for whatever reason. And you might assume right off the bat that our distance learners wouldn't do as well as our in-person learners. And it's true, but not to the degree that one would expect. Our distance learners have actually done very well. And so again, you can look at, when you look at the little to no, moderate to some, and significant, our in-person learners did outperform our distance learners, but not by a tremendous amount. We do know that, our distance learners, or kids that have stayed home, have suffered more loss than our in-person learners. And that could be due to small group instruction as well. But I think this data really highlights just how good our distance learning program has been, for one. We know that the kids, what they get here when they're in school is good, but I think this data really shows and puts a spotlight on the caliber of instruction our kids are getting, even when they're staying home, which is, again, is something we're going to have conversations about. Where do we go moving forward? What is the place of distance learning and education moving forward? Because I think there's some parents that may actually prefer having their kids home and doing distance learning. And so we're going to have to start surveying our parents and finding out moving forward, can we offer something to keep students in LeGrand by offering distance learning? And then we look at grade level data. Okay, so you look at each grade level and you can see here that our students are, again, doing pretty well across the board. Now, it's this grade level data I want to share with a kind of an asterisk. This isn't, you really can't tie this to, oh, that's some bad things are happening in that grade level when it comes to instruction. It's neither bad nor good. Data, like I try to tell my teachers, is just data. It's the voice of the student, and where our job is to respond to it. Data becomes bad if we just look at it and do nothing about it. And that's something we don't do here. What you can see is that, one of the assumptions I can make is the pandemic has had a greater impact on our youngest students. And we knew that. That's why we brought our K2 students back a month earlier than everybody else. We know how important it is to learn how to read face-to-face. That's something, early phonics skills and phonemic awareness and decoding and fluency, everything that we do K1, 2 is really difficult to do over a computer, right? You need to be able to hear students. You need to be able to go hand over hand with them and teach them how to track and read and interact with the code. So we kind of assumed that we would see students struggle. You could see as we move up through the grades, though, however, our students do very well. Third grade students experienced very low learning loss. Seventh grade students, very low learning loss, comparatively speaking. And this is compared to the national norm, which is actually 50%. It's 50-50. So when we look at right now, early data indicators are showing that about half of the students in the nation experienced moderate to significant learning loss. And again, I go back to that first data slide. In LeGrand, we're at 34%, okay? Whereas the other half experienced either, little to no gain, some gain, or significant gains, and we're at 55%. So what's one of our findings right off the bat? We're doing better than the national average in terms of learning loss or lack of learning loss here in LeGrand. Our in-person learners have made greater gains overall than our distance learners, which that would be something that if you were to hypothesize back before this all started, you would probably make that assumption. One of the things that really stuck out to me as I looked at the individual student data which I have, pages of, and I'm going to be sharing with teachers, is a lot of times when we think about students, like you think about significant learning loss and you think, oh man, those kids are struggling. Those aren't just our struggling students. These are some of our highest performing students. Historically, remember back in last winter before COVID, these were students who were performing in the 70, 80th, 90th percentile, and they slipped back 20, 30 percentile points. So even though right now they're still on or above grade level, maybe they're functioning at the 60th, 70th percentile, they experienced significant learning loss. And that to me was kind of it really made me stop and take a moment to ponder, wow, we always work, when we look at data, base it on assumptions. And we always look at data when we're looking at current data and we're saying, okay, what are our next steps? Here are students, how much did they grow over the last 3 months? What are we going to do over the next 3 months? With this kind of data, it's hard to, you see, wow, I have a student who over the last year didn't make the kind of growth that they would have under normal circumstances. So the next step is, what are we going to do about that? And that's where the really difficult part of this conversation comes in, is how do we create accelerated learning plans for our students who experience the most loss, that doesn't supplant current grade level instruction and expectations. So an example, if you're a 7th grader who last year in 6th grade, you were performing in the 85th percentile, this year you're in the 65th percentile. So next year you go to 8th grade, well, we owe it to that student to teach them the 8th grade curriculum and the 8th grade standards, but they also missed the end of their 6th grade and some of their 7th grade year. So how do we do both? And that's going to be the challenge that we face, because how do you do both where every minute that you're trying to address the learning loss, you're not addressing the current standards? And so it has to be extra, it has to be supplemental, it has to be on their own. And I know we have to be very strategic about identifying the exact skills and the strategies that those students missed. And then what's nice is we have the programs through things like Acellus and ST Math, and we can assign those targeted skills and strategies to those students. And we can try to hold them accountable to do that on their own time, and have conversations with parents and families on supporting their students, offering, extended learning programs, working with our after school program. The one thing is, I think about summer school and after school programs, and you don't want it to be more school all the time. That's one thing that kids get excited about, the enrichment that's offered in after school, right? Being able to do ballet folklorico and all the arts and crafts and things that we don't have time to do necessarily during a traditional school day. And then I think about summer school, how it's always been targeted and intervention. I'm thinking as a kid, if I just spent the last 180 days in school struggling so much so that I need intervention, why would I want to go there in the summer and get more school? We really want to start looking at how do we give students enrichment opportunities during summer and after school that makes them excited about learning again. So I don't have the answer to this question yet. I have the utmost confidence in our staff, in the brilliance of my teaching staff, and the other people that are on our team, to come up with some really great solutions on how we're going to address the learning loss. But for sure, it is a challenge of our students being on 2 tracks side by side and trying to keep the trains going at the same pace, because we don't want one of them to fall behind. So that's this is just our first interaction with the idea of learning loss. This is something the state is going to be holding all schools accountable to addressing. And I just want to get ahead of it. We'll be presenting this information to parent groups with ELAC and our site council, parents club, things like that as well. And as we start crafting our LCAP for next year, we want to report on this and get their input on what we can do to meet the needs of our students. Any questions?
Not really a question, Scott. I know it's the newness, not just for the students, but for the teachers. I mean, this is all uncharted, territory, and it's going to be learn as you go. you know, and as best we can. And I think, you know, if we do get the groups, you know, parents and other groups around here involved in trying to figure out what's best for the students, you know, at the end of the day, that's all that matters, you know. So it's just a learning process for everybody involved.
Right.
So.
Right. And I say, you know, on the flip side, I drew attention to the high performing student who dropped, but we also had some historically very low performing students make significant gains. I mean, it's really all over the map. You can't say this group of students didn't do well. It's very individualized. And I know my teachers haven't even seen this individual student data that I pulled yet on this, but they're going to be pleasantly surprised, and it's going to be an attestation to the hard work that they've put in. All right, any other comments or questions, or shall we move through the agenda?
I think everything sounds good.
Okay. And let's get back to the agenda. All right. COVID-19 related information. As you know, there seems to be an uptick in cases right here in our community. Last week, we had 3 cases out of 1 cohort. And so we decided to close that cohort down. From yesterday afternoon to this morning, we received a number of phone calls from parents who reported that they were exposed to a positive person in the community or their family with COVID-19, and that their students started experiencing symptoms, all unrelated to that one group, that one cohort we shut down, which made us feel like, wow, it's much bigger than the cohort, it's in the community. And with it being present in the community like it is, as you know, we made a determination today to put a pause on our in-person learning until March 1st. And it's hard, right? For all of us who've been working so hard since October to get school open, to make it as safe as we have for our students. I mean, to think that we've gone since October with really very few cases compared to other schools in the county who've been open. And then looking at the county numbers on the decline over these last couple weeks, for it to hit LeGrand now it's heartbreaking. You know, we've seen the benefits both academically and psychologically that being in school in person has had on our students. And I mean, I know I speak for our staff, and it's heartbreaking that we can't continue right now, as we don't feel like we can contain it. We don't want it to spread worse. We don't want to look at, I mean, I am confident in everything we've done. You know, I brought my own son to school here just because of how confident I am in what we're doing and how safe I believe our kids are here and our staff. And we have 2 staff members here. I know they would be happy to speak up on, you know, their safety. And Mrs. Gonzalez has 2 of her children here. Go ahead.
I do, and they both attend in person, and I mean, I feel very secure taking them to school every day. We haven't had any issues, and they're loving it and they're thriving.
And so, I mean, we know it's hard. You take things personal when things go wrong, that, gosh, what could I have done to prevented that from happening? And it just comes down to, I mean, this is a global pandemic, and it's the fact that we've held it at bay as well as we have out here at the school. I'm proud of what we've done. And you know, I'm looking forward to March and getting our kids back on campus.
Well, one of the other things too, Scott, is kudos to the parents for having that open line of communication with the school and letting you guys know, hey, you know, this is what's going on. That way we can go ahead and you guys can make an informed decision as far as what to do. So
absolutely. And that really has been key. I'm glad you said that, Freddie, is when the parents let us know what's happening, and when parents are erring on the side of caution and keeping their kids home when they're, you know, when they just have small symptoms or very few symptoms that historically we would send our kids to school with. I think all of that has contributed to why we've been open so long. You know, we planned for this to happen. We planned for, you know, for COVID to hit the LeGrand community. That's why we had our students in cohorts. That's why they didn't mix. That's why, they go to recess just in their little group, and they get lunches and breakfast delivered to their classrooms, and all these, and have desk shields and air purifiers and hand sanitizing stations and face masks and 6 feet social. Everything that we've done has been to keep kids in school as long as possible. But the parents communicating, keeping their kids home when they're sick, keeping their kids home when they know that they've been exposed, or if there's a sick family member in the house. We know that it's hard. I mean, I'm a dad. I've got 3 kids, 2 of them who've been home all year long, and I know how difficult it has been on my wife. Oh man, do we appreciate the partnership that we've had this year with our community and making sure we've been open.
Absolutely.
So vaccination, of course, is a hot topic, and it's just, at the last call we were on last week, they're just not getting the vaccines in Merced County. Right now, we're looking at 3% of our county has been vaccinated. It's when I talk to colleagues from different counties in the state, almost their whole counties have been vaccinated. I don't know the explanation. All I know is I've already reached out to our state senator and state assemblymen. I've been able to play phone tag with Assemblymember Gray, and he knows that this is an issue that we have to address. Very disappointed in the state of California's handling of the rollout of vaccinations. Just knowing that the city of Pasadena, with half the population of Merced County, has received 3 times as many vaccines as we have. It really makes you frustrated. It makes you angry when we think about how, if we can get staff members at schools vaccinated, then we could do a whole lot more to keep school open, because we know, looking at the data, that when students do catch COVID, the symptoms have tended to be less severe. And so we want to keep, of course, all of our staff and all of our students as safe as possible. But it's the vaccinations just not happening. So I encourage all of you to reach out to our assembly member, to Senator Caballero as well, and write them letters, send them emails, call their offices, talk to their staff members, tell them you're concerned that the vaccination's not making its way into Merced County, and it needs to if we want to get schools open and return to normal. All right, workplace safety update. There have been no injuries to report. And then we have our calendar for the next school year, which is nicely aligned. It's been looked at by our teachers union, and has also been aligned with the high school, and Planada actually wanted to get in and say, hey, what's your calendar looking like this year too? And we're all getting on a very similar page, which is good of what we're offering as when it comes to school start times. That first week, the week of the 9th, is when it looks like everybody's starting in our area. And then we have pretty much the same traditional calendar that we've had, with the same breaks. 4 professional development days. The day after Halloween being one of our favorites out here in La Grande, just because we know how kids are the day after Halloween. And so it's a good day for adults to come on campus and do some learning and let kids sleep off the sugar as much as they can. So that's the calendar. It will be an action item on the agenda tonight. All right. Enrollment is up. I think last I checked with Celia when we posted the agenda was 363. Are we still at 363, or are we even higher, Celia?
We're still at 363, but I do have 5 that I will be enrolling probably by next week, at the end of the week. So we have a couple kids that came back from Mexico after being gone for a couple months. So they're re-enrolling on the 19th. And then we've got a couple grandkids from one of our staff members, and one other student that is coming from Chowchilla. So that's an additional 5. That should put us at a 368.
Ooh, very good news.
Keep them coming.
All right, and number 11 is to hear from the public. We gave the public an opportunity to send comments and questions to Celia by 4 o'clock today, and she had not received any. Of course, we're always going to applaud the awards our district has received, our Golden Bell and our Community Cares Award. And then our consent agenda is the minutes from last month's regular board meeting, and I would like to entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is that Mr. Torres? Mr. Shasky, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Shasky, I'm sorry, am I stepping on your toes? You're good if I run through this?
Oh, I don't, I don't care. I'll be honest, at this point, it's probably easier for you just to do it.
Hey,
Okay.
Scott, can you hear me?
Forward.
Okay,
Yes, I
just wanna
can.
make sure. Yeah, that was Mr. Chavez that,
All
that motion.
Okay,
Yep.
Mr. Chavez made the motion. Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, action items. The first one is the school calendar for the 21-22 school year.
So moved.
Mr. Torres,
Second.
Mr. Shasky, all in favor?
Aye.
Any noes?
Yep. No.
You don't want, what, do you have a comment or question? What would you like to see, Mr. Chavez?
I'd like to see it reduce. I'd like to see us start later and end earlier.
I was
Okay.
waiting for that, Freddie, that September to come in. I'm going,
I
what's
think
going
that's
on?
3 years in
Freddie's-
a row.
Right.
3 years in a row.
You can count on it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chavez.
You're welcome, sir.
All right, we have 1 absent, no abstentions. Item number B is the approval of the school accountability report card. So this is a required document every year and reflects 1920 data. We send all that data in. It is compiled, and this is basically, it's kind of like the information section for a family that wants to look up, hey, I want to learn more about LeGrand Union Elementary School District. And they go onto our website, find our SARC, and they will find my message, mission statement, vision statement, core values, information about our demographics, class sizes, teacher credentials, CASP testing results, which there's nothing to share from the 1920 year. So there's a lot of asterisks there.
Have what's the results on that look like, being that we're doing the distance learning for the majority of this year? I mean, has it affected that number that we had in the past on the?
Which
the
number are you
testing
referring
scores?
to?
I was looking through that thing earlier, like the math and the language score.
So we didn't test. Last CASP was suspended last year.
What's that?
The state testing was suspended last year, so
Oh,
nobody
okay,
took it.
okay, that's right.
Yeah, that's why there's no data.
Okay.
And then right now, the conversation is still up in the air on whether or not it will be suspended this year. That's a federal decision because under the Every Student Succeeding Act, it's a federal mandate that all states have state testing.
Okay.
So it gives information on our textbooks, our Williams compliance, professional development days, the status of our facilities, teacher credential information, suspension, expulsion. It's a report card for the school. And so you can see all sorts of great information for people who are shopping around and wanting to know more about our amazing district. So I will entertain a motion to approve the SARC for the 2021 school year, which reflects 1920 data.
I make a motion, we approve it.
I'll second.
Mr. Chavez, Mrs. Smith, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? 1 absent, no abstentions. The next document, if you recall, last February, we had the same thing, which is the California School Boards Association has a particular district that we're part of, and the delegate running for sub-region 8D is Mr. Where's his name? Jesse Espinoza. Jesse Espinoza is a brand new board member in the Merced City School District. He's a young man, 21 years old, I believe, and he is running unopposed to be the representative for sub-region 8D, Merced County, for the California School Boards Association. You may vote for him, or you may write in a candidate. Is there a motion to nominate Mr. Jesse Espinoza as the CSBA delegate candidate for sub-region 8D?
Sure.
Is there a motion? Is there no motion, or do we?
You know, I'll
You
make
want-
a motion. I don't know much about the guy, but I mean, we might as well support him if he's gonna be representing our area, I guess.
Okay.
So I moved
Is there,
to,
Mr. Shasky makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Torres, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 my,
Is that 2 ayes?
3 ayes.
Okay, 3 ayes. Is there a no?
Since I don't know anything about him, honestly, I don't even feel comfortable voting.
Okay.
Uh,
So you'd
as a
like to
yes.
abstain?
Yes, please.
All right. We have 3 ayes, 1 abstention. All right, moving on, the COVID-19 school safety plan. This is plan number 4, required by the state of California. And this one had to be posted on our website by February 1st. And you can see the rationale is this is required by the state in order for schools to maintain reopening status, which is us, or to reopen once cases per 100,000 reach 25. They must develop and post a COVID safety plan to their website. This is part of the governor's proposal of the safe school reopening, which he put that out there wanting all schools in California to reopen. This is part of that. We've got the plan. It is posted. I have to report every Monday on our status as part of this plan. And basically I took the other 3 plans that have been written since March that have been evolving plans and growing with our conditions and mitigating protocols and procedures to keep people safe. And I just put it into the format that the state required for this new plan. So you're not going to see anything new on here. The one thing that they are wanting to see is testing for students, which is a conversation that I would like to start having with all of you as well. There is access in the county to the rapid antigen tests at about $6 a piece, and that gives results. It's a non-invasive test. So if you're used to getting the CRV test, which touches the back of your brain and isn't the most comfortable, the antigen test can actually just swab the inside of your nose and you get results in 15 minutes. To me, I'm wondering if jumping on board with this bulk purchase that the county's making and looking at making it available Mondays and Fridays for our students and staff on a voluntary basis would be something I'd be interested in pursuing. Just to again let people come on campus on Monday morning. If they're positive, then they get sent home. If they're not, they get to stay. And then on Friday before the weekend, just to keep our numbers or to maybe even screen and catch some asymptomatic folks and keep the spread down. I also like the idea of it being a response testing mechanism. We've had a number of times where we've had people say, gosh, I feel sick, or my student feels sick, I'm going to take them to Planada. Well, we know those results take 3 to 5 days. It would be nice if somebody feels sick, well, we can give you a quick test right now just to check to see if it comes up positive, and then we can get you back in class. I like the response aspect of it too. The one caveat with this test is it really only catches you if you're in the contagious stage of COVID. So there's a higher negativity rate with it because it doesn't catch all the positives. You don't get false positives from it, but you definitely might get some false negatives. People may have COVID or the remnants of some COVID and still test negative. There's McSwain School District has been using it for a couple months, piloting it. They're up to about 90% of their staff voluntarily participating. They started at about 50. And then more and more of their students are starting to participate as well. Again, as long as parents consent to the students doing it. Planada and Weaver are on deck to jump on the pilot next. And then there's been a donor, I think, in the county who's been willing to donate, I don't know, 1 million or 10 million of these tests, or not donate, but make them at a cost affordable at $6 a piece, $5 for the test, $1 for processing. So something that if we're interested as a district in pursuing, I would like to entertain that. That's part of this plan, though.
What would be the cost to us?
Of our
So it depends on how many we order.
Well, how many are you thinking, or?
Well, right now, I just want to see if you're open to the idea, and then what Vicki and I would do is kind of look at how many weeks of school we have left, think about, you know, the numbers of people we have on campus, and then do the math and come up with a number.
I think we're definitely interested in entertaining it.
Okay.
Agreed.
I think
Yeah,
it's great
definitely.
our confidence within the community, and you know, and also just from the standpoints of a tool for you guys to kind of keep stuff isolated.
Perfect. So
Yeah,
Vicki and I,
being proactive about it, you know.
Yep.
As long as the parents are on board, which I would assume, you know, I would hope that most of them are. And you might get, you know, a few resisting at first, but once you kind of see it and what it is, you might get some more jumping on. So,
and like with everything, we won't mandate.
Staff members think.
Well, staff members right now, half of them are getting tested with the invasive one. So I think they'd be open to a less invasive test.
You guys don't like the square plastic spatula test that you're doing right now? The brain scratcher?
Yeah. Speaking of, if you'd like to get tested, they'll be here from 12 to 2 tomorrow.
Quit being a wuss, Adam.
Great.
All right. So is there we will, Vicki and I will do a little more digging onto the actual numbers, and we will get back to you guys and let you know, since but it is part of the plan is to have response testing and screening testing. So,
Hey, Scott.
Yeah.
Could you repeat the part, or maybe go more into depth about the false negatives? And do we know what other schools have experienced already with that, or?
I haven't heard anything negative from McSwain yet, who've been the first pilot. He's reported out on our last 2 calls. They've caught a couple of positive cases before they've been able to come on campus. And in their opinion, and in my opinion, that's the reason right there to bring it on, is if you can stop, you know, one person from coming on campus with it. The response from staff has been positive, and it's starting to grow in the community as well. I know he's facing the challenge of you know, people outside of the school community wanting to come on and get tested using it, but that would be something that we wouldn't really be able to offer at the cost. I would
think family members are going to want to do that once if they have somebody that's positive. But there's an avenue for them to go do that. And
right, Planada, that pharmacy's been phenomenal. San Joaquin has been incredible.
Yep.
So when it comes to, you know, the data is what I'm hearing from the public health officers on our calls is, you know, this test is really designed to catch COVID in the most active stage. So that, you know, we know that somebody that had COVID could actually test positive using the deeper test up to 90 days after they've had COVID.
Wow. Okay.
And so they're actually recommending that people who've had COVID and they've recovered not to get tested within that 90-day window, because it can come back positive and then you're required to stay home from work and all these things, even though you're not actually contagious.
Exactly.
This one's designed to catch it during the most contagious stage.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. So is there a motion to approve the COVID-19 school safety plan?
I make a motion to approve the plan.
Mr. Shasky, second.
I'll second.
Mrs. Smith, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, and no no's, one absent, no abstentions. All right, time to get into board policy updates. Updated Administrative Regulation 0430, Comprehensive Local Plan for Special Education. This is reflecting a new law, Senate Bill 98 from 2020. Do you want me to go through? We've had this for 2 months for y'all to read. Do we want to go through it quickly, or do you want me to read it all?
No.
All right, motion to approve.
Motion granted.
Mr. Chavez, second.
Second.
And Mr. Shasky, all in favor, but say aye.
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 Any no's? One absent, no abstentions. Item F, updated board policy administrative regulation 1312.3 uniform complaint procedures, reflecting new federal regulations. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Moved.
Mr. Shasky, second.
I'll second.
Mrs. Smith, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any no's? one absent, no abstentions. Item G, updated board policy and administrative regulation 4119.25, 4219.25, 4319.25, political activities of employees. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Chavez, second.
I'll second.
Mr. Torres, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any noes? One absent, no abstentions. Item H, updated board policy 4140, 4240, 4340, bargaining units. A motion to entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Shasky, second.
I'll second.
Mrs. Smith, all in favor, say aye.
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 And any noes? One absent, no abstentions. Item I, updated board policy administrative regulation 5113.2, work permits. Entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Mr. Torres, a second.
Hold on a second, please.
Yep.
Is this, it says new law there. I didn't get a chance to look at this. Is this something that, just an update on the policy?
So Assembly Bill 908 talks about work permits. You wouldn't be able to consider a student's grade point average or school attendance when extending a work permit for students. We do have 14-year-olds on our campus. That's the reason why it's going to go into our board policy.
So is this new policy for us?
Nope, just an update.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll second.
Mrs. Smith, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any noes?
No,
Who's no?
Freddie.
Okay, Freddie Chavez, you're a no on that one. One
Yes, sir.
absent and no abstentions. Updated board policy administrative regulation 5126, awards for achievement. This is for the seal of biliteracy. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Was that Mr. Chavez?
Yes.
Okay, second,
I'll second.
Mr. Torres. Any noes? Or I'll say, I'm running out of gas, people. Please signify agreement by saying aye.
Aye.
Any noes? One absent, no abstentions. Item number K. I'm really running. It's getting close to 7.
That
Item
jump harder
K.
than I think it is, doesn't it, Borba?
Oh man, updated board policy administrative regulation 5141.31 on immunizations. This is an update with new laws regarding medical exemptions. A motion to approve.
So moved.
And Mr. Shasky is second.
I'll second.
Mrs. Smith, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? One absent, no abstentions. Item L, updated board policy administrative regulation 5148.3 preschool earlyhood child education. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Chavez, second.
I'll second.
Mr. Torres, all in favor say aye.
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 Any zero no's, one absent, no abstentions. Updated board policy 6170.1 transitional kindergarten. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Shasky, second.
I'll second.
Mr. Torres, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
No's? One absent, no abstentions. Item N, updated board bylaw 9012, board member electronic communications. These should not be used as a means to restrict access to a public forum. That one, I hope you guys read through. If you have questions, you can let me know. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Chavez, second.
I'll second.
Mrs. Smith, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? And one absent, no abstentions. Item O, updated board bylaw 9320 meetings and notices. Just adding teleconference locations to board agendas, which we've done. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
There was a multiple there. Who wants it? Who wants it? Who wants it?
Whoever.
Mr. Torres, a second.
Second.
Mr. Shasky, all in favor, say aye.
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 No noes, one absent, and no abstentions. And approval to pay bills for January 21.
So moved.
Questions? Oh, Mr. Shasky. Vicky, did you get that?
Yep.
Heard, I was shocked.
Okay.
Right. It
I'll
was a
second.
really boring.
Motion by
set of
Mr.
bills.
Shasky, second by Mrs. Smith. All those in favor say aye.
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 And no noes, one absent, and 0 abstentions. Upcoming district events, we have COVID screening tomorrow. President's week is next week. The district will be closed Monday and Friday. I will be here the rest of this week. Vicky will be here the rest of this week. Celia will be here the rest of this week. Next week, it will be me and Celia on campus, as well as the following week, Vicky will be back. And then we are going to be short-staffed with serving lunches, so it'll be myself and Jen, our cafeteria manager, and then any volunteers wanting to come help serve breakfast breakfast or lunch between 8 and 9, starting next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then the following week we would welcome your help if you feel like it. Yep, it'll be here starting. I'll be here at 7:30. Helping Jen get food ready to make sure we continue to feed our families. Any items that you'd like to see placed on future agendas? All right, we will adjourn this meeting at 6:52 in the PM. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and thank you, Mrs. Guerrero, Mrs. Gonzalez, for joining us and sticking around for, I think this was the longest board meeting we've had this year.
Scott, please call me immediately. Scott,
Yeah,
Scott, call me.
Yeah.
I just got a message from Jill. Call me.
okay.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
See ya. Bye-bye, everybody.